What, in your opinion, is the #1 way to be an independent woman? Asks Tiffany Panasiewicz. Heh. I think the biggest thing for me, growing up a woman, the hardest thing was my culture. Because there's this position, and my generation, there was this position in the baby boomer era that a woman belonged in a kitchen, needed to know how to cook, and that was translated onto my generation. The new generation, thank God you're free of that. Let me tell you, honey, it ain't cute. To have your grandma, your aunts, your mom, when are you gonna get a boyfriend, and when are you gonna like get married, or when are you gonna do this, when are you gonna do that? And it's the roughest thing to grow up with, is this pressure. Guys get it too, when are you gonna man up, why you gotta be a pussy, it's really, really rough. But I think that the hardest challenge to be independent as a person, period, is getting over your genetic tribal roots. And it could come from your culture, it could come from your sex, but it comes from society. And it comes from growing up in the world and having this pressure of wanting to be accepted, because you have to be accepted to coexist. I mean, to live in society, you have to find, your crew, your group, people that that you can work with, people that you can live with, people that you can exist with. And the toughest thing is not falling prey to the sheep mentality of following your environment. So if you're surrounded by drugs, the pressure is either being a drug dealer and making the most money on the block, or being the slut that dates the drug dealer. You know what I mean? So being independent is really, really tough. And for me, I found growing up with all these pressures, growing up in the hood where you have the pressures of, gangs, and you have the pressures of drugs, and then, coming of age and becoming a woman, and having a career, and then having these pressure to, to get married and have kids, and this other pressure that would come in, which is acting like a woman. What does that mean? You mean I can't play Dungeons and Dragons in the basement with my friends, or I can't play Manhunt or race cars, or I can't box, I can't get into a fist fight? Is that what you're telling me? The hood taught me otherwise. So did Vaseline. But I'm saying, did I just get ghetto real quick? That was so funny. But in order to be independent, I think that you have to follow your heart, and you have to become familiar with what that sounds like. Because there's this voice in your head that tells you to do stuff. And you have to question that voice in the head. And the first question you ask that voice in your head is, am I doing this because of them? Or am I doing this because it's coming from me? And when you get close to that voice in your head that says it's coming from me, that's when you are independent.